Hello and welcome back to my channel. So a couple of weeks ago I put out this Google form survey where I told you guys to tell me your pressing life issues, your problems, and surprisingly a lot of people responded. And today I'm gonna answer your pressing life questions with answers that I think are good. This is kind of odd because like I'm not a therapist, I'm not a life coach, I'm just a regular 20-year-old female on the internet. I don't know. So for those of you For those of you who did send in your problems, your issues, your stresses, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me content for this video. And hopefully I'll answer your questions now. So let's hop right into it. I feel like I'm wasting my life away. I want to continue college, but I don't seem to have an interest in any major. I think that's the kind of thing that I really can't help you with because this is all anonymous, by the way. So I don't know who this is, I don't know who you are, but I feel like one piece of advice I really could give you is to sit down and think about the things that you do that make you happy. For example, for me, it's theater. I love to act and I love to be like backstage, doing sound, doing costumes, doing makeup, doing anything related to theater, and that's why I'm a theater major. So if you sit down and you think and you list down things that you do that make you happy, that you would love to do for the rest of your life, I think that could really help you. I know that it's kind of a weird reply, but at the same time, I think that a lot of people are so caught up in doing majors that give them money and have a quote-unquote guaranteed successful future that they lose like what they love and like their selves in the path. And then they wake up one day when they're 40 and they realize like, oh my god, like I didn't want to do this. And for me, like when I was in high school, I never wanted to be that person. I wanted to do what I loved, like regardless of how high risk of a major I was in. And theater is pretty high risk. So yeah, just think about things that you love, things that you want to do, and that you could see yourself doing 40 years from now. So I hope I helped. Next question. I'm sleeping with my best friend's boyfriend and I'm totally in love with him and I can't stop. I'm trying to think of an answer, but genuinely, like aside from like stop, I can't, I'm having trouble formulating a response to this. I think that you're in a very sticky situation where nobody really wins, except for the guy, where nobody really wins. And I think, okay, let's think this through like step by step. I think that first and foremost, you need to like sit in a room by yourself and think like, am I really in love with this person, or am I just in love with the sleeping that we're doing? And if you realize that you're just in love with the sleeping that you're doing, congratulations, you solved your problem. Make a Tinder, make a Bumble, I don't know. However, if you realize that you're actually like genuinely, truly in love with him, you need to go talk to him. And you need to be like, hey, I'm kind of in love with you. I'm pretty sure this wasn't like what was supposed to happen, but I'm in love with you. And then you need to see what he says. If he's like, no, I don't love you back, I was just enjoying the sleeping we were doing, then unfortunately you're gonna be pretty hurt, but your problem is solved because he doesn't feel the same way. However, if you are in love with him and he is in love with you back, that's kind of where it gets a little sticky, because you know, up to now we've solved it pretty much like quick and painless. But if you're both in love with each other and he's dating your best friend, That's a problem. I mean, like, from the get-go, it was a problem. But this is, like, a big, big problem. If you guys are really in love with each other and you've really decided that you're totally in love with each other, I think that you need to go and tell... I think that you need to, like, decide what you're gonna do moving forward. Like, is he gonna stay with your best friend? Is he gonna break up with your best friend and date you? Like, what's gonna happen? I think that in any case, regardless of, like, which one of the options ends up happening, like, you have to tell your best friend. Like, that's something that, like, you really need to do, because you're sleeping with her boyfriend. Like, you need to really own up to your mistake and hope and pray to God that she still wants to be your best friend, because that's kind of shitty. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. That's a pretty shitty thing to do. And I don't know, like, how you guys ended up sleeping with each other or whatever, but regardless of which one of the choices that which one of the options ends up happening, you need to tell her, and you need to be like, look, I'm sorry. He either A, doesn't love me, B, no, I'm either A, just in love with our sleeping, B, he doesn't love me back, C, he does love me back and he's breaking up with you. Whatever the option is, whatever, like, the scenario ends up happening, you need to tell her, because first of all, it's better if she hears it from you, her best friend, because sometimes guys, like, do this thing where they'll twist the situation and make it look like you're the bad guy and they're the ones who are in the right or whatever. But yeah, you need to decide. First of all, decide if you're in love with him or in love with the sleeping you're doing. B, talk to him and then see how he feels. If he doesn't feel, problem solved. If he does feel, bigger problem up ahead. And I think that this really is just one of those situations where, like, there really isn't a winner. Because if your best friend does decide to, like, forgive you or whatever and, like, not dump you, then she has to live knowing her whole life and, like, oh, like, her best friend and her boyfriend were, like, sleeping with each other while they were dating. So I would really just, like, talk to her and, like, really, like, if you're not sorry, then you're not sorry. But if you really do say, like, if you really do feel sorry, like, talk to her and, like, show her and make it up to her, because, like, it really is, like, just a bad situation to be in, like, regardless of who the person is. But yeah. Next question. I have another one about best friends and being in love, so here goes. I'm in love with my best friend, but he has a girlfriend and I go to school with her, and I'm conflicted because lo quiero mucho, but I know that nothing can happen, so how do I get over him? It's also been, like, forever that I've been trying to. I think that you owe it to yourself to distance yourself a little bit. Like, don't be super awkward and just ghost them and never talk to them ever again. But, like, take some time for yourself. Like, do things that you love, care for yourself, and just take some time, man. Like, it's rough to see somebody, like, the person that you love somebody else, I guess. So I think that right now you need to take care of yourself, especially if you know that it's something that you really can't control. Just take care of yourself, and, like, situations will sort themselves out, especially things like that you really have no control over. I think that you should just take some time for yourself and do what makes you happy, especially if you've been trying to, like, get over it for such a long time. And if your best friend really is meant to be the person that, like, you end up with in your life, like, I genuinely believe that lo que está para ti nadie te lo quita. Like, what's meant for you, like, will always come back. Next question. There's so many questions that are so interesting. I'm just trying to, like, pick the ones that aren't, like, as deep and as, like, existential, because I'm gonna answer those in a separate video. This one really isn't a question. It's just, like, in all caps with, like, 5 exclamation points. Help me get a man. I don't have a man. I have never had an official boyfriend, so I feel like I'm really not the person to talk to, like, to ask about or to exclaim about this, rather, if you will, But I guess, like, I don't know how old are you, but judging by the fact that this is in all caps with 4 exclamation points and man's ends in a Z, you're like 15, 16, 14 or 15. I don't know how to answer this question. Like, help me get a man's. Like, don't actively pursue men. Do what you my laptop almost fell. Like, do what you love, live your best life, do things that make you happy, like work for your goals, work for your dreams. And if a man happens to like fall in your lap, like just happens to come into your life at some point during that, then congrats, like you have a boyfriend. But I don't know, I feel like I very much subscribe to the philosophy that like I'm gonna keep doing what I love. Like, I'm gonna keep studying theater, keep on like growing my YouTube channel, doing things that make me happy. And if somebody just happens to like come into that mix at some point, then fantastic, I have a boyfriend. And if not, then you know what, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. So don't lose sleep over the fact that you have a man, especially if you're like as young as you think you, as young as I think you are. Life is big and the world is big and there's a lot to discover, like within yourself and within the world, and to see. And I think that if you do that first and you realize who you are and you create the best version of yourself, then a great man will come into your life. And if not, you're still popping, you're still fabulous, you're still a baddie. I have ligma. What should I do? Go see a medical professional. So I named my Google form Dr. Ruth's advice column, like, you know, like a fake doctor, like Dr. Phil. And somebody asked me, how did you become a doctor? Well, I woke up one day and decided that I was gonna do a video in which I helped people solve their problems, and bam, I became a doctor. You just wake up one day, decide you're a doctor, and then that's really all it takes. That's really all anything in life takes. Just wake up and do it. Actually, is Dr. Phil even a fake doctor? He is not a medical doctor. He is a psychologist. He has a PhD, but he's not a medical doctor. He did not go to medical school. Okay, so I guess he is a real doctor in psychology. Sorry for doubting your skills, Dr. Phil. So for my last question, I have this really serious question that like I'm reading it and it kind of like perturbs me a little bit. Like it's making me shook. And I feel like this person like genuinely like needs help. So here we go. I'm an atheist and therefore nothing in life matters. Why work hard to have a nice life if your body is gonna die and your consciousness will dissipate and you won't even be able to remember the nice life you made? I struggle to find motivation to do the most basic tasks because of this. Also, don't tell me to pray to God. I'm way past that and I don't believe in his existence. His is in quotation marks. I do believe in God, and I do believe that when we die, like, we don't just lose everything. So I'm kind of biased in that sense. But there was a point in my life where I really did struggle with like death, and like I was very depressed, and I did struggle with like death and like what happens when you die, and like having all these questions that like I felt like nobody was answering properly. And I really came down to this for me. If you genuinely like truly have this conviction that when you die your body dies and your consciousness dissipates, then that really makes every single thing that you do so much more important, because it's all you'll ever have. So like when you struggle to find motivation and when you struggle to like do all these things, it kind of sucks, because you're wasting the only time that you think you'll ever have to do these things. Because I believe that like what we do in life echoes in eternity, because like obviously like I believe in like an afterlife, but you don't. So I really do think that if you have this belief and you really are struggling with it, homie, the only thing that matters if you're gonna die and you're gonna lose your mind and your conscience and everything, the only thing that really does matter is the now. Because unfortunately, none of us know when like our last breath will ever be. And if you think that you're gonna die and just not be anything anymore, that should give you that much more motivation to go out and do the things that you love, the things that make you happy, because it is genuinely all that you will ever have. Because the past, it's already done, you can't do anything about it, and the future is just us imagining that we're gonna have time to do all of these other things. But the reality is that we don't know. Even though you don't believe in God and like you're past the point of belief or whatever, I'm gonna keep you in my prayers and like send you like good vibes, like energy, whatever you believe in, like whatever positivity you believe in, I'm gonna send it your way, because I feel like out of the questions that I answered, you're the one that needs it the most. So I really hope that like anything that I said really does help you, and it really does motivate you to do like anything really. But yeah, I hope that you like find peace within yourself. But that's my advice for you. All right, so this concludes my first advice video. There might be a second one. If you guys still need help with your problems and you feel comfortable enough to like reach out to me on Instagram, on YouTube message, is that a thing? I don't know. If you guys feel comfortable enough to reach out and like ask me like follow-up questions, follow-up advice, sorry, I'm more than happy to give it to you guys, because that's what I'm here for. All right, bye, see you next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.